Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're talking about how automakers are essentially asking car dealers to charge you junk fees on your next new car purchase. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. With that being said, let's get into it. So the last few years have definitely changed the car market a massive amount, and it has changed how automakers want to do business here in the US. And a big thing was just frankly dealerships charging big markups over the course of the pandemic. It's definitely changed automakers' viewpoint on traditional dealerships and just how the market works here in the US. And so the biggest thing that automakers are doing right now is they're actually decreasing the amount of margin that dealers can make on cars. So historically, if you looked at how much automakers were selling dealers cars for versus how much they were selling for, it was typically a 5 to 10% markup. So this is the difference between dealer cost and MSRP, manufacturer's suggested retail price. And again, it was obviously going to vary manufacturer to manufacturer and car to car, but 5 to 10%, that was pretty typical with most vehicles in the US market. Now, fast forward to today, and most automakers have pulled back a massive amount. There's pretty much no cars out there at this point. I mean, there are a few, but there's not a lot of cars that have a 10% markup between dealer cost and MSRP. Most cars are in that 5% range now. Again, that was the low end of things prior to the pandemic. Now that is the high end. So automakers have eaten up a lot of profit that they were giving to dealers in the past. And on top of that, automakers are now starting to sell dealers a lot of cars, especially electric cars, that have zero markup whatsoever. There are a lot of electric cars out there where after the dealership pays the manufacturer for the vehicle and then sells it at MSRP, they either break even on the car. In some cases, they even lose a little bit of money. A good example is with like the Ford Mustang Mach-E. That is in most cases, again, it's going to depend package to package, but usually it's a net loss for the dealership when they actually sell the car. And so the only way for the dealership to make money on the car is by either marking it up or selling other product with the car. So warranties, accessories, all of that fun dealer stuff. And so this is where I want to have a conversation about where this is pushing the car industry and what automakers are basically telling dealerships. So first off, we just came off of a market of huge markups. And so going from that type of market to a market where there are not a lot of markups because demand has diminished at the same time that supply has increased a lot, then obviously dealers are going to be more willing to pull down prices. That's just how things work. But part of the reason as to why we're not seeing as much, pulling back of the prices is because of this decrease in dealership margins, right? When dealerships used to have, again, 5 to 10% on average of markup in a car, they could discount cars a bigger amount. But because there's not as much margin, dealers can't discount cars as much. And so it's actually keeping prices elevated higher, which is not great for consumers. And on top of that, it's actually pushing dealers to mark up cars because, again, if they don't have as much margin in these cars, then they're more incentivized to mark up cars. Because you have to remember, at the end of the day, dealers are businesses that are existing to make money. And the way for them to make more money, right, obviously is by marking up cars. Yes, dealers can do the volume model of things, just sell as many cars as possible and make a little bit on each car. But again, with the margins being smaller, that's becoming more and more difficult. And so this is where, again, this is completely anecdotal, but what several people have told me leads into something that I think is just pretty disgusting, because when these dealers go and ask these automakers, hey, so about the markups, like this isn't working, like we can't be losing money when we're selling cars. How do you expect us to make, especially again on the EV side of things, how do you expect us to make a profit on these cars if you're asking us to pay more than what we're selling it to the customer for? And what the automakers tell the dealers is to quote unquote get creative. That is basically the conversation back and forth. And so it's kind of like this weird situation where automakers are, advertising and putting all this stuff out publicly saying that we got to get rid of dealer markups. We got to have, uniform pricing across the board. We got to make sure that it's a customer-centric industry. And then, behind closed doors, what these manufacturers are doing is they're putting dealers in positions where they can't do that because of the lack of markups that they're being given. And on top of that, they're telling the dealers to quote unquote get creative. So they're saying to the public, no more markups, no more dealer junk fees. And then they're telling the dealers, oh, you want to make money in these cars? get creative. So anyways, I want you guys to let me know in the comment section below what you think about this. Do you think that this is the right way to go for manufacturers? Do you think that them giving dealers smaller amounts of markup on a per vehicle basis is the right thing? Or do you think they should go back to what it was like prior to the pandemic, where dealers had more margin in the cars? For me personally, I think that the latter is the way to do business, because this allows dealers to have more flexibility with the cars. Obviously, if the market on a car is really hot, then dealers can charge full MSRP and they can make more profit. Again, it's MSRP, it's no markup. And you guys can argue whether that's markup or not, but it's not marked up above MSRP. We'll just go with that. And then when times are tough, right, dealers have, 5 to 10% markup that they can pull back to attract customers. That is a lot. But when dealers only have, in some cases, like I said, no markup at all, it's like they can't go anywhere. They can't decrease the prices on their vehicles. And so they don't have any way to basically, go with the overall market of a car. And I think electric vehicles really show that, because with a lot of these electric vehicles where dealers have absolutely no markup in the cars, when Tesla drops their prices, the dealers just have to sit there and wait for the automaker to release some sort of discount program. They can't just immediately drop their prices as well, because they don't have any markup. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. I'll see ya.